Hey guys, it's Ed, Solomon's Landscape here. Just wanted to take a couple minutes personally to thank you very much for choosing us as your landscape provider and landscape installer. And so we do appreciate your business very much. This video is actually pertaining to plants and the new plants that you just recently installed or had us install. And so you should see an email going out to you after the completion of the work. And so this video is just a supplement to the email. It'll be attached to it, and so you can view this and just kind of give you some directions and pointers and hints and tips to keep your landscape looking beautiful for years to come. So a few things that I just want you to remember is that plants are living things that require attention, just like human babies. When they're first born, they require food, plenty of milk, plenty of, just constant babying. Plants a little bit more mature, so they're not requiring your attention 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They do require some attention. And it really doesn't matter what time of the year that they get installed. Realistically, they should need some moisture most of the year. Right now, it's I think January 4th, and so of 2020 right now. Wow, time flies. And so we've been having a very wet winter, mild temperatures, actually warmer than normal. But due to the fact that we've been having a lot of moisture, actually probably a little too much moisture, potentially that could affect the plants because wet feet, and sometimes they don't like too much moisture as well. Unfortunately, that's a little bit harder to correct. But I know going through the summer, this past summer, it was hot, dry. I mean, we had periods of 20, 30 days, almost 30 days without rain, in the mid to upper 90s every single day. And so the summertime is typically the hardest time on the plants. And the biggest factor in the plant survival, usually, especially the first and second year, is the water or lack of water, especially going into the summer times. And so, going back to that, having a baby, you don't leave a child without water. You don't leave a child without food. Same thing with the plants. You want to make sure that you're constantly monitoring them and giving them enough water. Typically, when we install them, we put mushroom compost and a couple other things that help provide nutrients for the plant. And so the biggest thing is just making sure and ensuring that they get enough water, typically. So the first year really is going to be the hardest year, especially the summertime. When we go through seasons, usually the hardest season is the summer because of the high temperatures, the lack of moisture in the air. Typically, we have mostly dry summers, typically. But yeah, the first year, we call it the survival year. Essentially, if plants can get through this first year, they have a much better chance of surviving much longer. And of course, regardless of what time of year that they've been planted, they will need some water. This time of year, being so wet, being fall, wintertime, less water is needed. Probably no water is really needed because of the fact that nature is providing that for us. And hopefully not too much, because too much water can drown the plants as well. But usually, like I say, the first thing is not enough water is usually what kills off the plants. So depending on the season, obviously, and the weather, how much rain we've been getting, how much sun we've been getting, will determine how much water the plants need. And then, like I said, typically most plants will not survive, or plants that do not survive that first year is typically because of lack of water. So making sure that they stay watered on a regular basis and monitoring them on a regular basis. And we'll kind of go into a couple things on that here in a few moments on how to tell what they need. So, but during that time, that first year, especially that first summer, that first year really constantly will monitoring, ensuring that they're getting enough water. Second season, once they make it through that first summer and survive, That's great. I was going to say the odds of them surviving are much, much greater after that. So then the next year we call, or next season, next summer season, essentially is because of the fact that it's such a hard time of year for most things. We call this the establishment year. So basically, first year they're surviving, second year they're getting established and getting their roots really, really grown in and really doing what they need to do to continue to survive. So this year they'll probably need some monitoring and some supplemental water, not nearly as much as the first year. So I think as the babies are growing up a little bit, and so potentially just keeping an eye on them, watching them, maybe a couple times a week, 3 to 4 times a week, instead of every single day, just going out there and just watching them, looking at them, talking to your plants, I guess one might say, just kind of see how they're doing. Checking their leaves, making sure there's no damage, there's no wilting and things of that nature. Hot, dry summers like we just had, supplemental water, and we'll get into telling that again as far as how do we know how much water. We'll get into that here in a few moments. And so the third season is really when they start to take off. We call that, basically they're thriving in the third year. And so typically after that third year, most plants need minimal monitoring. You still always want to monitor your plants regardless. You just don't set them and forget them. A lot of people do, but it's always good to periodically go out, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, kind of go through the garden, check on things, making sure everything looks good. I'm bad about it. We got a landscape and garden in our backyard, and I typically don't look at it too often. Maybe I'll go through maybe once a month, maybe, if that. So that third year really is once they get established. That's when they're going to make it. So we had a couple things I wanted to touch base on. Well, how do I know how much water, or if it's getting enough water or not? So couple things. The plants typically will talk to you. We just don't know how to interpret the plants. One of the things that they'll do that shows signs of lack of water is the fact that the leaves will start turning a little bit yellow. We'll call it chlorotic, but they're turning a little bit yellow, a little bit more pale. If they're yellow leaves already, they'll kind of go with a dull yellow. The leaves and branches will start to wilt a little bit, look sad, fall over. If they have blooms, a lot of times, sometimes depending on the plant, the blooms will kind of fall off or sag. And so typically that's saying that there's needing attention. And usually, like I said, especially that first and second year is usually a lack of water. And how do I know how much water it's getting? Well, the big thing that I usually say is do the finger test. Pretty simple. Take your good old finger, and then you want to take that finger and stick it into the soil next to the root ball. And if you feel it's really dry, obviously it's going to need water. And it's mud, it's too much water. You want to check for moisture. If you pull the soil up and you can roll it in a ball, that's probably a little excessive, but generally speaking, in these soils in this area, a lot of times it's going to be pretty dry, and so ensuring that it stays moist, not sopping wet, but not dry as can be, not dry as a desert, but just a little bit of moisture in there, and ensuring that it stays moist throughout the year. And so that's how you really determine if it needs more water or not. Some plants are going to require more, some plants are going to require less, so I can't just sit here and tell you water it for 10 minutes a day, because each plant is a little bit different. Sometimes they'll be planted in shade, so the shade plants typically will require less water, where plants in full sun would require more water because they're a lot thirstier. Just like you and me, if we're out on a hot summer day, we're drinking a lot more water than we are when it's a little bit cooler, a little bit shadier. So just keep that in mind. And each plant, like I said, each plant requirement is different. each plant size. So if I'm a big tall tree, I'm going to need more. If I'm a little tiny bush, I'm going to need less. And so there's a lot of factors involved, so it's very hard to tell. I mean, days that are 70 degrees are going to require, plants are going to require less than, days that are 90 degrees. You 5 days of 70-degree weather, you shouldn't have to water nearly as much as days in 90-degree weather, 5 days 90-degree weather, because you're just typically, when you think about yourself, you're more thirsty on those 90-degree days. So those are kind of the two factors. If you follow these guidelines, just monitoring the plants, ensuring that, if you see any wilting, you see yellowing of the leaves, making sure and checking the soil next to the root balls. Be vigilant about that, especially in the first year. Second year, you can slack off a little bit, especially that first year. Always just be really vigilant. The chances are there's a good chance that and probability that your plants will make it. I mean, occasionally there'll be some that die off, but typically, mostly, if you follow those and give the plants enough water, enough of what they need is typically water those first couple of years, the chances of their survival are pretty great. And so that way you can have a landscape to last your lifetime, as if you're doing this properly. To end, typically, just a reminder, we typically do not guarantee plants, as they are living, breathing creatures, just like you and me, babies essentially. There's a lot of factors that are out of our control, like weather, how much water, or lack of water they're getting. So that's, kind of falling on you, making sure that you're doing what you need to do to ensure that they stay healthy and vibrant, just like you would any child. And there's also many other factors involved in that as well. But like I said, typically it's going to be the lack of moisture that's going to do that. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know this is kind of getting a little long, but I feel it's important just to let you guys know some of the tips and tricks to ensure that your plants succeed for a long time. So thank you very much. Just to recap, monitor first year, monitor, water, making sure that if you see any signs of wilting, yellowing, things of that nature, put water on it. Use your finger to test. If you're not sure, keep water on it, especially in the heat of the summer. Second year, not as bad, but still making sure that you're monitoring. And then after about the third year, you'll really get a landscape that'll start taking off and really start growing in, and be able to enjoy it for years to come. Thank you very much. You have a great day.